I think one thing that I'm very proud about who I am as a person is that I never sacrifice my joy for anyone. And especially for someone that needs to experience growth or to learn a lesson on their own. And so during that time of us apart, she was able to experience life in a different viewpoint that allowed her to grow and allowed her to learn to where now we were able to come back together stronger. Because I knew that in order to protect myself and what I wanted to be and where I wanted to go, I couldn't live in that toxicity.
So we tell our stories to lift each other, give hope to push us further, and encourage one another.
Kalen Allen is proof that who you are is enough. Kalen walked into his calling by divine orchestration when he made a food reaction video for Friends. The video went viral and caught the attention of Ellen DeGeneres, who later hired him to be on the show regularly. He even hosted a few episodes in the show's final season. That was just the beginning for Kalen. Since then, he's made appearances on shows like The Black Lady Sketch Show, numerous shows on Food Network, and even getting political at the DNC this year and hosting campaign rallies with Michelle Obama for the Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign run. But now he's making sure that we have a very Kalen Christmas. He has a Christmas album entitled Christmas Memories, a movie on Netflix entitled Meet Me Next Christmas, and he's even making his Broadway debut in the Broadway adaptation of Elf. Kalen talks to us about his vision for his future and how he's ready to be the next talk show sensation. All right, you guys, so we are here for another episode of Behind the Scenes Beauty. My name is Derek Monroe, and today we have with us, this guy is a superstar. He is a journalist major. He is an actor. I didn't realize he was a singer. He's got a holiday album out. I mean, this guy is many things, but today we have with us the Kalen Allen. What's up, sir?
What is happening?
I'm excited. I'm excited.
Well, I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Really? I'm more honored that you made time for me.
Oh my God. You know, we make it shake, make it happen.
Yes, you do. Okay, so listen, we're going to jump right into it because we know you on this new busy Broadway schedule. How's it treating you so far?
Ooh, it's wearing me out, baby.
Really?
Let me tell you, yeah, okay, so this week, you know, this is Thanksgiving
Okay,
week.
well, first of all, let's tell them what you're in Broadway.
Oh, yes, yes. So I'm doing Elf, the musical, that's based off of the movie with Will Ferrell.
Okay.
We're at the Marquee Theater on 45th Street.
Okay.
And so this week is Thanksgiving, right? So like we had Monday off, one show Tuesday, two shows Wednesday, off Thursday because of Thanksgiving, two shows Friday, two shows Saturday, one show Sunday. That is brutal.
It is.
That is ridiculous.
Were you prepared for a Broadway schedule? Like, even though people tell you, did
No.
your...
No. And you know what's so funny? So I majored in theater, of course. But like when you are doing theater in college, you do a show for like 2 weeks.
Right.
That's it. So you can you can plan better of what your schedule's going to be. And now, listen, I remember, because I have a lot of friends that have been on Broadway, and I used to judge them so much. I'd be like, what you mean you can't go to this? You never available? I never see you. Honey, I understand.
You get it now.
I understand because I was talking to another friend who's on Broadway as well. He's in MJ the Musical. And he was talking about, yeah, you know, that's why we can only do stuff on Mondays. I said, no, you shouldn't be doing anything on Mondays. I said, my assistant, nothing on Mondays and preferably nothing on Tuesday during the day.
Right.
Because it is a lot of work.
And those are the times you need to refuel.
Yes, and it's hard work. And I don't think people understand that. It's like I have to take that time to myself because I have to make sure that I am rested in order to do the show again.
Right.
Because I have to make sure my voice is healthy. I gotta make sure I'm physically healthy. I gotta make sure I'm mentally healthy in order to be able to give the same performance. Because for the people in the audience, that's their first time seeing it. So they deserve the same quality of a show that I gave the day before.
Gotcha. So, okay, so I saw the show.
Oh, yeah.
I saw the show. That's really how this happened because I texted you to tell you how great you did in the show.
Thank you.
Okay, so you come from doing theater in college and studying theater that way. So then you come on to Broadway and you didn't just do like a creeping role. Your role in this musical is very high strung, upbeat.
Sparkle, jolly, twinkle, tinkle, shiny, showy, cheery, crinkle, dazzle, dazzle, ringle, ringle. I can't lie, it makes me tingle.
You're in a lot of it. Did you feel like it was a daunting task to take that on? Just feeling like you just came straight into it, or you felt like you were prepared for this all your life?
No, I wanted that.
Okay.
Because I think, especially because people have this one idea of who I am, especially within the digital creator and influencer world, was that when I went into audition, no one knew what I did or who I was. I very much just wanted to go in and like earn my keep, you know? And I was very serious about that. And what I enjoy about that is normally when you have somebody that's coming from that world put into something, yeah, it's kind of like they do one little thing or they just, you know, don't even sing. They just in the back. And I didn't want that. Right. I wanted to make sure that I was actually playing a role and being a big contribution to the show. I was ready for that.
Okay. So let's scale back. Now, let's go, because you are from Kansas City.
Kansas City.
You have siblings?
No.
You don't have...
Well, I have 2 half brothers, but we didn't grow up together.
Okay.
So I grew up as an only child.
Okay. So clearly you grew up around older people all your... Because first of all, I was talking to my coworker today. I was telling her, like, I'm interviewing Kalen Allen, and she was like, I know him. I was like, she looked you up. She said, he's only 28. She was like, he feels so much older than that. And your spirit is somebody's grandpa.
Very much that. Very much that. You know, it's so funny about that because, you know, everybody, you know, Thanksgiving, and everybody was like, you need to rest on Thanksgiving. You don't need to be. I am cooking, okay? I went to 3 grocery stores so far. I just came from here. On my way here, I went to Williams-Sonoma because I need to go get my turkey brine. Like, I'm very serious. But I think maybe that is a little bit of that Midwest of just being... growing up in a place that is a little slower. But my mother didn't have me until she was 35. So she was an older mother in that time. So I think there's a little bit of that. I don't know. I've always been a very old soul. Even as a kid, I often look back at home videos and I'll watch and I'll be like, Jesus Christ, like when you are 5 years old and you sound like you're 50, like what is happening? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's so funny. Like, and even the way that I think I process my life and what I think about, you know, usually people my age, they still want to have fun. They want to go out. I do not like go out.
Really?
I'm not a night person.
You're not a turn up?
No.
No turn up with Kalen?
A turn up to me is sitting in my house on the couch, okay? I want to be at home or I want to go to dinner or I want to go to the movies or do something that's a little bit more active, not just standing around trying to look cute. Like, that's no interest in me. I also think, like, I've been telling my therapist, I'm like, honey, we got to find a man because I need to have kids and I need some time in order to know if that's the man I want to have kids with. I was like, we got to...
You want your eggs cracked.
I want my eggs cracked, meaning I want a child.
Right. I'm like, we got to pick up the pace, baby, because the time is ticking and I don't want to be an old parent.
Hey, I got you.
I don't.
You're 28, sir. You got time.
Yes, but to be fair, like, you got to think about it. Okay, so you start dating somebody, then you got to marry them, right?
Right.
That's a good 3-4 years right there.
Well,
then you got to have kids.
It could be love at first sight.
No, I doubt that.
And it could be someone that has the same intention as you. So they're dating with intention. So when they meet you,
it could
they
move
know.
fast.
And y'all,
Yes, we'll see. Because I'm like, I want to have kids by 35, just like my mother.
I got you. Okay, so what was it like growing up in Kansas City, though? Like, how does that nurture who Kalen is today?
Oh, I think that's where a lot of my groundedness comes from. Okay. You know, I think I am also, even though I may be a high maintenance person, I think I am also very simple.
Okay,
I think I'm
wait a minute. How do you feel like you're high maintenance? In what way?
I think I have a certain quality of how I like things.
Okay.
And I'm very adamant about that, no matter where I go. You know what I mean? Like, there's a certain quality of life that I like to live. I think that comes, my mother was very bougie.
Yeah.
My first car was a Cadillac CTS. So, you know what? And I don't shy away from that. Like, I don't try to pretend that I came from
the hood.
Nothing, you know, or something like that. But, you know what's funny? But to be fair to that point, it's like, I grew up in Wyandotte County, which is the same place that Janelle Monáe grew up.
Okay.
So we grew up in the same county, which is the poorest and most urban county in Kansas City. And so I grew up in that space, But you also got to realize is the conditions of what is considered necessarily the hood in Kansas City is very different from a big city. And even what people make, like the hood in Kansas City is more middle class than it is actually like being poor. You know what I mean? But that's because when you are also, Kansas City is a very segregated city. So like all the white people live together and all the black people live together. And you go over to the white people's areas, it's like manicure lines and there's mansions, you know? There's a lot of headquarters. So we have a lot of CEOs in Kansas City as well. And so I think that's why it looks different. You know what I mean? But I also think that's what I love about New York and how it's just a full melting pot of culture. I think growing up in Kansas City, one being queer mainly, I didn't necessarily notice anything drastic. Of course, there were times of homophobia or those type of situations. However, people often left me alone because one, I am a very strong individual, but I've also always been unapologetically myself, and because I could entertain people, people kind of left me alone. But I always knew that there was a ceiling in Kansas City. And in order to accomplish my dreams and aspirations, I would eventually need to spread my wings and fly. And when I left Kansas City at 18, I ain't looked back since.
Won't going back. So, okay, growing up queer in Kansas City, was your mom just like, that's my baby and don't nobody mess with him? Or did she have a hard time with the whole thing herself, trying to, you know?
I think that it's a little bit of both. I think one, my mother always allowed me to be me, you know? But I think my mother struggled with the label of it. And once I did come out, there was a period of time where we didn't speak, where we were completely not in each other's lives, you know? And I think that was necessary. I think one thing that I'm very proud about who I am as a person is that I never sacrificed my joy for anyone. And especially for someone that needs to experience growth or to learn a lesson on their own. And so during that time of us apart, she was able to experience life in a different viewpoint that allowed her to grow and allowed her to learn to where now we were able to come back together stronger. Because I knew that in order to protect myself and what I wanted to be and where I wanted to go, I couldn't live in that toxicity. And I move about, even when it comes to jobs, even when it comes to employees or people, I'm like, when it's not serving me, it has to go. Because if I keep you around, I'm only wasting time. And there's so much that I still need to do. And especially with the content that I make, I always tell people, it's like, I have to protect myself because in order for me to bring light and joy to other people, I have to make sure I keep that light and joy inside myself.
Okay, so where do you get this gift of wisdom from? Because I always, and I think I asked this to Jordan Cooper when I interviewed him. Where do you get this wisdom being so young? Because a lot of this stuff comes from like living life. You know, get it out. I'm 46. I'm 46, and a lot of that came from, I grew up fast myself. I was on my own when I was 14 years old, so I moved through the world in different ways than other people. But you not necessarily being that, I wonder where all of this wisdom come from, because a lot of it comes from having to have lived life in a certain way. So where were you picking up all these knowledge tidbits from?
Well, first, when I was really young, when I was in the 4th grade, my mother had a tumor on her liver. And so she was in the hospital for the majority of the time. And my grandmother lived with us and she had dementia. And so during that time is when I really had to grow up. Like I had my first permit to drive at 14. That's when I learned how to cook. That's when I learned how to take care of the house because I had to make sure all the bills were paid and doing all this stuff. Mind you, I'm in 4th grade at this point. You know, so I think that's a big part of it. I think also when you are othered and you live on the outside of society, that forces you to navigate the world in a different way because you don't necessarily have the privilege of fitting in. I just saw Wicked. I think Elphaba is very much like that, of like, she's a very strong person because the world wasn't ready for her, didn't understand her. And so you really had to understand yourself and figure out how to be able to move and navigate the world as your true self. So I think a lot of that is also there. But I also have a very strong belief in that there are certain people in this world that are picked and chosen to do different things in the world, to do extraordinary things, to go beyond the limits, to break glass ceilings. Like I think about it all the time. Like, for instance, like if we're talking like The View, like I'm always like, or I say this, even somebody asked me the other day, they were like, what's your favorite Christmas song? And I said, All I Want for Christmas Is You, you know, and which is like the #1 song every Christmas. And I said, I believe that there was some divine guide that was there with Mariah Carey as she wrote that song. Because what do you mean you wrote a song in 1994 and here we are in 2024 and it is still #1? Like that is divine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think about that when you think about these things that have changed the world. Like I was talking, Sean Astin is in Elf. And I was like, you showed up to set to do Lord of the Rings not knowing that it would change culture. I said, I went to the barbershop last week and they were watching Lord of the Rings. And I said, and we had these opportunities to do these things. And I think that's the difference. It's like, I think about it every day of the impact that we are able to make. And that's why everything that I do is done with so much purpose and intention to the point of like, because I want the legacy to live on beyond me. And I think a lot of who I am is built from the lack thereof of what I was able to see, you know? And so I think I do a lot of things to make sure that some other young kid that is looking at my career or what I'm doing believes that they too can do it.
So much to unpack right there, because I actually want to ask this, because I want to go into how you really sort of stepped into the scene, but I want to go back to something you said. And I just want to know how do you accept to knowing that you are that called person? Because there is an intimidation that comes with knowing that God has called you and called you to do something. And there are people that will want to make you say, is it you? And then there are sometimes your flaws make you say, is it you? But what in you allows you to walk into that?
You really have to be ruthless in the fact that you have to literally not give a damn.
Right.
You have to not care. There are so many people that have often told me that I was too much. There's many people that have told me that I'm not enough. And even working in this industry, you know, you are only as good as your last job. I mean, right now I got a Christmas album, got a #1 movie on Netflix, on Broadway too, and it still feels like not enough. You're still being told no. You're still being put on the back burner. But I have to keep the trust and the faith in my own journey to know that everything's going to work out. Like, for instance, I think back to high school. I used to direct and produce this thing called the Poetry Slam. And it was basically a talent show, right? But I used to do this 15-minute Beyonce performance at the end every single year. And it was like, and looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was so extra, you know? And yeah, it was a lot. It was doing the most, you know?
Right.
But when I look back and I realize in doing that, the skills that I learned, like I learned how to direct a show, how to plan a show, how to produce. Like there are so many things that I did as a kid that were so outrageous that now and today have maybe be able to do what I do. And so that's why I understand that all these things are not an accident. You know what I mean? And I think because the proof is in the pudding, that's what allows me to believe in it.
Okay, so for many of the people that may not know, you came on the scene doing reaction videos to food.
Yes.
You didn't mean to even, you was just doing
it. It's an accident.
As for fun.
Yes.
You got noticed by Ellen.
Yes.
And your first one went viral. And then you go to Ellen.
Yeah.
She brings you on just to talk about it and then comes out. It's a full-on thing. She wants you there regularly.
Yes.
You negotiated the contract. Tell people a little bit about that.
Yeah, so crazy enough, the first video was made around this time in November of 2017.
November.
Yeah, it was November 2017. The first video went viral, just like you said. I said, okay, well, I guess I should make some more of these. I created the brand, Kalen Reacts. I made more videos. I started working at Ellen in January.
Quick question, though. Yeah. Where did you find those? I mean, where do you find these disgusting food videos?
But this is another reason why I say I believe in divine timing and guiding. I truly believe that because it came to me in a sponsored post. There are so many things in my life that have been full circle.
Okay.
And that moment happened. Then Ellen called. Ellen used to be the only talk show that I would watch growing up. Then I went and did Ellen. I thought I was just going to get a cute little shutterfly check. She offered me the job. I started working. I moved to LA. That January, I finished school in LA, went to Ellen during the day. I did all that. And then I was there for 5 years. Then when the show was coming to an end, I was like, okay, I want to go to New York. And I wanted to come to New York because I wanted to do Broadway. Mm-hmm. And so then I moved to New York. And funny enough, then my friend Brandon Michael Nace called me. He said, hey, Elf the Musical is coming back to Broadway. You should get your people to audition. Elf is my favorite holiday movie. It's the movie that I watch every single year religiously. And then I was like, okay, great. Went in, did the audition, did the callback, got the role. And we're at the Marquis Theater, which the first time I ever came to New York in 2009, I stayed at the Marriott Marquis. And the show in that theater at that time was 9 to 5. And that's a vivid memory in my brain. But that's what I mean by all these things being full circle, because even one of the first musicals that I ever did was Hairspray, and I did a podcast with Ricky Lake, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's like all these moments have proven to me that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Okay. So what is it about Christmas that's really bringing, because first of all, so you're on Broadway. So what came first? Did Broadway come or the movie on Netflix? Please give us the name of the movie.
Yes, Meet Me Next Christmas.
Meet Me Next Christmas, starring
Christina Milian, DeVal Ellis.
Okay.
And Pentatonix is also in it. But the first thing that came was the Christmas album.
Okay.
So Christmas Memories was first. I worked out on that for 3 years.
Wow.
So the album was going to come out last year, but then I booked the movie and we shot that last year in Toronto. And while we were on set, they were like, oh no, the movie's not going to come out until 2024. And so then I pushed the album to come out with the movie. Elf had not happened yet. Okay. So now I knew that this year would be the Christmas movie and the Christmas album. Then Elf comes along. And I'm like, oh, all right, it's a very Kalen Christmas. But in all fairness, I love Christmas. Okay. It's my favorite holiday. I'm a Christmas connoisseur. I go all out. But Christmas was also huge in my house. It was probably the only huge holiday that we celebrated. I mean, we had inflatables in the yard. We had the whole house outside strung with lights. My mother would decorate the front screen door with red lights. And it was like the thing, we only bought real Christmas trees. Every year, the tree had a different color scheme, so we would buy brand new ornaments. We'd go to Big Lots every single Christmas season to buy all new ornaments, and they would all have a color scheme. We videotaped every Christmas, so it's always meant a lot to me. And I'm a big traditionalist. Okay. Like, I'm very adamant about, like, that's why people are like, you need to rest on Thanksgiving. I'm like, no, I'm cooking. Because if I don't, it makes me feel like it feels empty to me. Right. You know, it's like the holidays have to be grand. They have to be huge. They have to be big.
Yeah. Okay. So wait a minute. What made you decide you wanted to do a Christmas album, though? Let's do that. And like, how many songs is on the album? What made you, all of those things?
Well, there's 12 songs on the album.
Okay.
And I decided to do a Christmas album mainly because of my love for Christmas, but because I knew that I didn't want to be a recording artist, and it was more of an artistic expression. Oh. And there's something theatrical about Christmas, and the album is very theatrical in itself. It basically is called Christmas Memories, and it basically chronicles my life from adult Kalen to kid Kalen. Okay. So it is very funk, pop in the beginning, then transitions to R&B, and it actually ends in gospel. Okay. And it is a lot of influences. There are also little tidbits, like, for instance, there is a lot of interludes that are connected to things of my childhood. So, like, before you get into the gospel section, there's a song called, oh, Lord. Yes, Mary Knew is on there. And because I did Yes, Mary Knew, because when I was in high school, for the Christmas concerts, because I was in choir, I would always do a solo, and it was always Mary Did You Know? Okay. And so I was like, that song never made sense to me. Yes, she knew. I was like, God told her. So I wanted to write a song that was basically saying, yes, Mary was very much aware. You know what I mean? Right. And so that is the story of Christmas Memories, but it's definitely a lot of me in it. There's a lot of heart. It's a lot of joy. And it's a little bit of something for everybody.
So did you write all the music, or who did you?
So there's only one cover on the song. Okay. And that's Where Are You Christmas, which is from The Grinch. Faith Hill sang it, but it's a song written by Mariah Carey. So that's the only cover on the song and on the album, and everything else I wrote. And there are some like traditional songs on there, but they were reimagined. Okay. Like, they aren't just me singing like a cover of a a Christmas tune.
So had you wrote music before?
I had,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, there was another Christmas album before they're called For Christmas Sake. And For Christmas Sake actually has a movie musical that's on YouTube, that's on my YouTube page that accompanied it. And Wanda Sykes was the narrator and everything. So that was a whole nother moment. And that one was a little different because I'd done it in LA. And at that time, it was my voice teacher's idea for me to do the Christmas album. And it was a lot of like, her kind of producing and writing the songs that are coming up for it. And I said this time I wanted to do something that was purely me. So my best friend, Brandon Michael Nays, who also helped me with Elf, he is a brilliant music producer and arranger. And so he brought along Malachi Mapson and Paul Johnson, who are incredible musicians. And we worked on it together to build Christmas memories.
Should we expect more music from you? Is that the end? You're gonna do more?
Not for a while. Not for a while. Being an independent artist is not cheap, okay? Now, take that with a grain of salt, because I always tell my business manager, I'm be like, I promise this is my last passion project, and then something comes along, and here I am spending a whole bunch of money, you know what I mean? So that could change, but I think I'm more interested in making something for someone else. I think I would love to be able to work or conceptualize a body of music for somebody else. I've been thinking about even writing a musical.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So who would your dream collaboration be?
To be honest, Mariah Carey.
Really? No
Yeah.
fee?
Yeah, I think Mariah's pen and her songwriting ability is incredible.
Oh, wow.
I would love to just work on a song with Mariah,
That would be amazing.
especially for the holidays.
That was, I could see that. The outfits alone.
Yes!
You walking down, who came up with your red bow on your social media?
Yeah. So the outfit is actually inspired by one of the songs on the album.
Okay.
Want to Make It Snow. There's a lyric that I say, I was standing right there wrapped in a bow.
Okay.
And so I called my friend Joseph McCrae, who's an amazing designer in Harlem. And I said, okay, I want a custom outfit. I said, and I want it to look like I'm wrapped in a bow. So we were working together and being very collaborative of finding different, source images and inspiration, being like, okay, I want it to be a bodysuit, and I literally wanted to look like the bow has been tied at my waist. And that's how we came out with it.
And walked down Times Square.
And did.
And
you know who did those videos?
Who?
The Times Square photographers that be walking around.
Really?
I said, oh yeah, because that's cheaper. I said, we're going to go out there. I said, I want a bundle. Just shoot it all and I'll take care of it.
Well, look at you.
Yeah.
That was cute.
Thank you.
Okay. Because I'm just like, he writing music. He is. Because you also was at the DNC
Yes.
this year.
Yes.
And you were really the spokesperson because a lot of people were giving flack to content creators for being there. So what were your thoughts on the fact that you guys were asked to be there? And what are your thoughts on the result of the election?
So originally, when I went into it with the space of being like, okay, I'll just show people what it's like behind the scenes. And then when I realized how people were being treated, and they weren't treating me that way.
Right.
They were not treating me. They were treating other content creators or the influencers. I think there was a lot of misconceptions about like who was being paid and this, that, and the other. And then it was a whole situation. And so then my goal then became to try to be a catalyst in starting a conversation about how media is changing. And you have to meet people where they are. And the people that were at the DNC are doctors, they're lawyers, there are people that work as American citizens who just happen to have followings that they are then sharing. Like, people aren't there just dancing and goofing off. Like, they're really there crafting and producing stories to get to the everyday person. Because, yeah, a lot of people don't watch TV anymore.
Right.
A lot of people don't watch the news anymore. A lot of people are sitting on their phones and going through reels and stuff like that. So, yeah, they are getting the information to the people that need to get it. Now, as far as the results of the election, unfortunately, in an election, you always know you either gonna win or you're gonna lose.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I remember I made a post about this because somebody was like, "Are you ashamed that Kamala lost?" And I'm like, I always knew that was a possibility. Why would I be ashamed?
Right.
And why do you think that because I supported this person because she lost that means that she's a loser or that she's she was never going to win? I said, no, I still believed in the campaign that she ran, but I think we live in a time that bigotry is going to win. We already knew what was against her just for being a woman,
And
let
a
alone a
woman,
Black
like-
and Indian woman. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it's like we already knew that possibility, but that's not going to stop me from fighting.
Right.
That's not going to stop me from believing.
Right.
You know what I mean? And yes, the result is unfortunate.
Right.
But there's nothing I can change about that.
Right.
There's nothing I can do about that. I can complain all day long, but that's not going to change the result. My job now is to figure out, how do I still do the work to make sure that my rights are protected, the rights of the people that I care about are protected? How do I mobilize in different ways or give platforms to other people to be able to shine that light so that the conversation is still ongoing?
Do you feel like we should be mobilizing now, or should we be waiting? I think that's a conversation that people are having right now. Or are we not really preparing ourselves for what's to come, or are we just waiting to see what it is we really need to be concerned about?
I think there's two ways to look at that. I think one, there's an idea that, yeah, maybe we should be working more, we should be doing stuff. But I also, because I know what it was like the first time,
Right.
I am also giving grace to the fact that some people just want to live in joy right
Yeah.
now. They just want to soak up as much light and joy and ease that they can for right now until they're forced into it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we don't know what the next 4 years are going to be like.
Yeah.
We don't.
You're right.
And so it's like, you got to do what you got to do in order to keep your sanity.
You're right.
I had a friend call me and said after the election that he was so depressed and he was so sad and he didn't want to go out. I said, you cannot carry that weight on your shoulders.
That's true.
And I also think about it, it's like, when I think about our ancestors and what they endured, I'm like, this is nothing
Right.
in comparison.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, if they could endure that and still find the joy and still find the love and still find the light, then I can do that now.
We're going to be all right.
Exactly.
You know, I needed you to say that because I was one of those people. I was in Paris when I got the news. And so I think I had a disconnect.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, ugh, it
Yeah.
stung me, but I still was moving through life a little bit. And instantly when I landed, it hit me like a ton of bricks because my mind started going down this whole rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that fight to, like, you know, pull back. And I have been thinking about what you just said too, the ancestors. One beautiful thing about working at The View is you do get to meet people like John Lewis and all these people, that have made such strides in life. So I do draw from the strength of what they went through, how they went through it, and how they persevered through it all. So I agree with that. I think I'm glad you shared that because I don't know where you get it from. You have such an optimistic, peppy attitude and personality, and it's such a light. I'm gonna tell you too, your coming to see Elf really took me out of that too, actually, because it was the one thing that felt like, I remember sitting there and just y'all dancing, and it's a part where it becomes a whole spectacular moment. And I remember like, oh my God, I probably needed this escapism. Like I was saying that to myself, that I needed that escapism. And it's so funny, there's a writer at the show, I was just telling him on the train yesterday, I said, go see Elf, see Elf. Because he was asking about it. I said, I was interviewing you.
Yeah.
And I said, go see Elf. I said, it's perfect escapism. Because he was feeling the same way. And I said, it's just definitely a great pick-me-up, a great release.
Yeah.
It's all of the things.
Well, I think it's also, you have to keep in mind is like, unfortunately, the balance of the world is always in adversity. You know what I mean? Like it's inevitable.
Yeah.
You're never going to have a moment that is pure bliss.
Yeah.
It's always going to be something acting against you. And you can't allow that to dictate the life that you're going to live because you only get one. And I think I have chosen that in the adversity, I always need to find the joy in it for my own sanity and for me to be able to still function on a day-to-day basis. You know what I mean?
Yes. Okay, so in a perfect world, if you could map out how your career is going to go, take us down the journey of what Kalen's life is going to be like.
Well, the ultimate goal is a talk show.
Okay.
That's what I want, whatever that looks like in today's day and age.
Gotcha.
But definitely more of a variety show. Like I really want to revive like the Cher show and the Judy Garland show and those type of shows, but still having that talk kind of essence to it. So that is the ultimate goal. But in a perfect world, I think for me, I'm always like, find me one good job that I can do for the rest of my life.
right.
You know what I mean? Like, I look at the people that do the Today Show or do The View, and I'm like, oh, they got it. They got it good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the hustle is draining.
Yeah.
And it's tiring.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, give me one good job that I can use to build my platform and who I am, to be able to then create a production company, to then produce. There will come a time where I will fall to the back and do more behind the scenes, because I don't want to be in front of the camera my entire life.
Really?
No, I
You're
don't.
such a star, though.
You know, and that
The camera would miss you.
it would, and we
And it's
pull,
going to.
okay. And we pull a little Oprah and come back every now and then, you know. But for the most part, I think it's like like you said, I've been working for a long time, even as a kid.
Yeah.
I remember I was 12 years old. I was president of the Johnson County NAACP Youth Council. When I was in high school, I was on the student board of directors for the Federal Reserve Bank, you know? So a lot of my life has been built around leadership and working and being in the field, you know what I mean? And I don't want to do that my whole life.
You want to rest.
Yeah, and people say, well, you know, you young, live now. I said, no. I want to work now, retire early, and then live my life when I'm fully grown. Like, I want to take trips. I want the white picket fence and the whole story. I want to take kids to soccer practice and go to graduations and plan parties and have grandkids. Like, that's what I see for my life.
Okay. So what has been one of your, like, you give me 2 cherished moments in this span of career that you've had in entertainment thus far? Like, what are some moments? No, give me 3. Give me your top 3.
One would be going back to, like, the whole belief in myself. A lot of that comes from the fact that I have been able to meet incredible people that have believed in me. For instance, like Oprah or Ellen or a Beyonce or something like that. And to have these people of that magnitude speak life into me, that has only then made me almost think and be like, well, it'd be crazy if you didn't. Because if they can, then you definitely can. So I think definitely those connections, and the fact that, like, a couple months ago, I hosted a rally for Michelle Obama. You know what I mean? So the fact that those, like, I'm at the top of those lists when people want me to come, like, that is definitely.
How did you digest that when it first started happening? When you realized, like, wow, people really notice who I am. How was that for you?
To be honest, and I talked about this I went on DeVal's and Kadeen, his wife, I went on their podcast, and I said, you know what? I don't have imposter syndrome. I truly believe that I am everywhere I'm supposed to be. And I walk into every opportunity knowing that I'm where God wants me to be. You know what I mean? So even though it was like a culture shock at first, I quickly adjusted to be like, no, Kalen, you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for a reason or for a purpose. And so I enter every room like I'm meant to be there. People always talk about that video of me and Oprah when she's in the conference room and I come in and I was like, darling.
I think I'm gonna run on.
You know, it's so like, and they're like, he walked in there like they was friends. I'm like, we are, what you mean? You know what I mean? And so definitely that's one, the first thing is those connections. 2, people always say that, what would your inner child think? Or I always tell people that he still lives inside me. I think he's with me every single day. I think he's the one taking care of me. He's the one that is guiding me and keeping the light alive and the joy. And so the second thing is that I'm glad that while working in this industry, I have always kept that alive. And I haven't given up my innocence or that purity, that I've always kept intact, my sanity in that. The third thing would probably be that I am able to do stuff like this. I think I enjoy going to talk to on anybody's show or anybody's thing. I don't get caught up on like, you know, some people, when you ask somebody to do something, then their team is like, well, how many followers and how many
subscribers.
I don't care nothing about that. You know what I mean? Because I think the reason why I am where I am today is because somebody gave me a chance. And somebody just decided to believe in me and didn't need analytics to prove my worth. And so that's the way that I operate. It's just like, yeah, it doesn't bother me. Great. There's many times that college students have reached out or sent an email to my booking email. I remember during the pandemic, I let teachers that were teaching on Zoom, I said, let me know if you want me to come by your classroom and speak. I don't have any problem with that. You know what I mean? But I think that is the sense of community. And I am also a person that is also about lifting people up and supporting them. And even sometimes when people don't support me, that doesn't stop me from supporting them because I know that that's what I'm supposed to do. And I don't base what I do off of what other people don't do.
I always used to say that. I always used to say, don't let this industry change you. Always maintain who you know God called you to be.
Yeah.
Because it's not for you to react to how people treat you. It's for you to be the example of how people should be treated.
Especially in this business.
Especially. And
because people will ask you to do 50 million things, and then when you come to ask for something, now it's crickets. And they gone with the wind, and they didn't pay you, and then stuff. And then if you say anything about it, now they mad at you, and now they think you ungrateful. No.
Or the communication was...
Right.
And then after...
Right. Dead silence.
Like, wait a minute, you was texting me every other hour, every second about something. Now okay, I hear you, I see you.
That's how it be.
Exactly. Okay, so after doing this Broadway stint, is Broadway something you would do again after realizing, like now that you came back to New York to do Broadway, now if somebody said, ooh, there's another show in 6 months, Kayla, you want to do it, or...
Yes,
you would say,
but that's only because you said 6 months. Because if you would have left that out, I'd have been like, yes, but not immediately.
Okay, gotcha.
I think the next time I would want to do Broadway, I think I would want a little bit more foundation in my regular career. As far as like whether that's a show and we're on hiatus and I'm going to do a Broadway show. Because I think what has been tough for me right now is juggling everything else while also trying to do Broadway, because my days don't really belong to me because I'm doing everything else and having to film content and stuff like that. So I would want it to be a little bit more stable, because then it would be a little bit more manageable. And I wouldn't be so exhausted all the time. You know what I mean? But I love the stage. Every time I do a show, it warms my heart every single time. Like, I love it, you know? I just want to make sure that I've created a foundation that allows me the ability to rest adequately to be able to do it even better.
So I got 2 more questions. How does Kalen Allen refuel his tank?
I do things that honor my inner child. Whether that is watching a Disney movie or something. Like, I done seen Wicked like 50 million times at this point. You know what I mean? So I try to find things that, like this morning, I knew that I was back in it today. So I played a little bit of my PS5, you know? And so I try to find things that kind of bring me back to a more calm state. I'm not a big massage and facial person. Like, I'll go do them, but they aren't necessarily relaxing to me. So that all depends. Or I'll do like meditation or something like that. So that's usually how I'll recharge.
And my last question, which I ask everyone that comes on the show, is what does Kalen Allen find beauty in?
Ooh. I find beauty in authenticity. I appreciate people that live in who they are and do it unapologetically. I appreciate that. But I also appreciate people that are not only authentic, but are also self-aware to when they misstep or when they make a mistake, they understand that just because that's them being authentic does not mean that eliminates the ability to grow or to learn or to change. Because I don't believe that anybody is above critique. And so that's my answer.
Come on. You be on it. Kalen, this was amazing.
Well, thank you for having me.
No, thank you. I feel like this is like Super Soul Sunday. This, I watched your other interview with Scott Evans, which I loved. I watched when it actually came out, and I was like, oh, they had fun. I was like, I want to have fun with Kalen, but he's also you're so wise. So I felt like, okay, this is going to be more of a help people thing than it is, So I go with the help people. That's my lane. I try to
I love
help
that.
people, so that's what it is.
That's great.
I'm walking in my authenticity.
Hallelujah. I want to do it. I know that's right.
Thank you all. Please tell the people where they can find you, what you got coming up, how they can support you.
Yes, you can find me everywhere at the Kalen Allen.
And where can they get your album?
Oh, you can get that anywhere that you got streaming, iTunes, Spotify, Tidal, all of the above.
And where can they find your Christmas movie?
You can watch Meet Me Next Christmas on Netflix, and then you can come by the Marquee Theater and see Elf on Broadway.
And you go off on when? When is
We close January 4th, my birthday.
On your birthday.
Yes, we do.
Yes. What are you doing for your birthday?
I don't know, but I do know a couple days after I'm going to Miraval in the Berkshires.
Oh, Bevy just went there.
Yes.
Yes. She said it was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
You've been there before?
Oh, yeah, I've been there.
I've never been.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Okay. All right.
Deuces.
Well, thank you so much. Definitely make sure you like, subscribe, all those things. Thank you so much.